Everyone. If I am at the Padlet page we were using for our training earlier in the week, and I come over to Discovery Education, we mostly looked at GPB. Hopefully we'll be able to cover some other resources, but if I click on Discovery, that will take us to discoveryeducation.com, a really, really powerful resource. And I come up to the top right to the white button that says Sign In. Some of you had asked me for your class codes. If you've never registered before, come down here to use passcode, create, and you'll enter the code that I sent you. If you don't have a code, just ask me and I'll send you all the codes that everyone would need. But you would simply log in here. And remember, you can't log in with Google unless you have single sign-on, and we talked about that. Just sign in normally. And Jerry had included a webinar of tutorials in the teach you all the basics of just coming up here and searching and saving resources. But I wanted to show you today a little bit more of kind of the behind the scenes Discovery. Most of what everybody uses is what's called Streaming Plus. It's the old, right, and you can browse by topic, you can search in the search box and get results, and then you can save those results and you can filter those results to get things like just videos or just lesson materials. Most teachers do this. You come over here to the left in these symbols and you hover over them. Yours are going to look a little bit different than mine, but generally near the bottom you'll have one that says Professional Learning. And if you click here, you get access to the back door of Discovery, sort of a Discovery 2.0. And this is their Professional Learning Center. Now I'm just going to scroll down until I see 4 blue boxes, and it lists most people don't know about. And if we just focus here under this category of strategies and resources, just focus here, just a few links here are going to give us an enormous amount of content. One is called Spotlight on Strategies, and I mentioned these briefly. This is a database of 170 different micro strategies for the classroom, many of which teachers have already heard: 214, 3 truths and a lie, and they're all broken down for students to be learning. Citing evidence, summarizing, and you can kind of bookend your class this way, or your lessons with a hook and a summarizer, and in the middle, engaging activities to keep students focused. What are they? Here's a favorite of mine, AEIOU. Instead of asking students to watch a video and then having them write down 5 facts, we all remember that, and then they write down 2 opinions and we get frustrated, they offer this one, AEIOU. And you click video just like any other video on Discovery, but it's an actual teacher. It's very short, less than 4 minutes, and they explain how long this is going to take, what you should expect. You can read a transcript as it's going through the video. And then the info tab, here's a PDF of it so you can make sure that you're doing it right step by step. And the way this one works is instead of having them write down facts, you can split up having some students write down an adjective and an emotion, something that's interesting, something that stood out to them, and then something they don't understand. And they always put the research it's based on at the top, so if you need to talk with your instructional coordinators or your instructional specialists, all of these are research-based strategies. You can save these to a quick list, which is at the top here, and you can always come back to them very easily. So you can kind of have your teachers try new ones every week or every month, or every week or every month. If you want to see more in that category, you just click the category title, and it gives you all of the strategies that you can use for citing evidence. And look how many you get. So there's no reason to keep repeating the same instructional strategy. Now we have all sorts of new ideas. And I can save this whole collection by clicking Add to Quick List. I'm going to hit the back button, which will take me back to, and if you're a little confused and you go, well, how do I know which ones are the best? I can provide a direct link to something. It's called SOS for SOS, Life Preserver 4. I'll provide a direct link to this for us. But this 4th one down is their Top 10 series, which is the top 10 for certain content areas. So if you're in CTAE, the top 10 strategies they've found that work really well for teaching career and vocational, or K through 12. The ones here at the bottom, how to do student research, top 10 strategies for student research, science, social studies, differentiation, literacy, so on and so forth. And that way you don't have to pick through and try to figure out what's. They've already done that work for you. If I go back to our Professional Learning Center, remember this is just under Professional Learning Center over there on the left. I again scroll down to see my 4 blue boxes. That is the first 2 links. Those are the first 2, SOS for SOS. If you like our virtual field trips, imagine if we had a lot more money. Discovery is a much larger company with a good deal of financing, and they go to virtual field trip. They go to Mount Kilimanjaro, they go to Toyota, they go to the biggest companies and the coolest places, sometimes on the planet. All of that stuff can actually be found right here under Educational Partners. This is the other link I'm going to show you. This is, I think, one of the coolest things that Discovery does. These companies and all these organizations, and then they've listed all of their lesson plans here in a very simple, broken down fashion. Probably the most prominent one is their Discovery Does Best. If I click STEM, I get a listing of and all of the materials are right there to the right. So Ag Explorer is 6 virtual field trips across the teaching materials. And this one website holds all of these different virtual field trips, career backgrounds, and lesson plans. And then it's broken down even more simply so you can really get into what you want to cover. And then here's your career stuff and all your virtual field trips. All of it's self-contained. More virtual field trips. You can just simply jump to the virtual field trip here. Smart cities, the science behind happiness. And you notice this is something new they're doing where they're partnering just to build lesson plans and not building a virtual field trip. I'm a big fan of this one because it deals with data science and making data science less intimidating. Specifically, they partnered with Nielsen. Some of you guys may remember Nielsen doing tracking of family TV viewing habits. And so they've aggregated a bunch of data, and then they want students to analyze this data and then create models to help predict media habits of the future or the types of products that will be created. But it's all going to be based on very, very intense data sets. And you could use this as an after-school club, but you could also find ways to bring this into the classroom. More virtual field trips on agriculture, cancer research. This is a really cool virtual field trip on mining. And they've got interactives, stuff for the family, the virtual field trip, and lesson plans in Spanish, no less. Really, really cool stuff there. Data analysis on statistics from EA Sports, the Madden NFL video game. Perhaps you've heard of it. Aerospace science, they went with Lockheed Martin and did a virtual field trip with them. And you can download all sorts of really cool space exploration resources. Girl Scouts in STEM, there's their virtual field trip. Here is probably my favorite, Ignite My Future. Notice here again, no virtual field trip, but they do have a curriculum. This is to teach algorithmic thinking. Say it with me now. Algorithmic. Yes, very good. You just choose your subject. Algorithmic lesson plans that go with it. By algorithmic, they mean computational thinking, the way computers think in terms of code, but really and more simply, it's a series of steps that result in a solution. A good example would be the Hokey Pokey or the YMCA dance, or if you got a little bit more difficult, a recipe. And they take that line of thinking and then they bring you lesson plans. And it's not just about science and technology. They have lesson plans for all sorts of stuff. Here's physical education. And these are really great because it's not just a simple lesson plan. They go into great depths here. They make sure their pattern here is students think, students solve, students create, and then students connect. Really, really in-depth stuff with a lot of materials. And they start sort of at a level 1, a little bit of brainstorming and understanding their topic, Fitbit and things like that. Then they move to analysis, things that are good, things that are bad. Then they take that analysis and they move to design and then into implementation. And so every lesson plan looks like this. And there are dozens of these lesson plans. So really, really cool stuff there in terms of teaching computational physical education to social studies. Recycling and the cyclical nature of our world, manufacturing, nuclear technology, nuclear energy. The Navy has shown all the cool STEM jobs that they have, and some really, really intense lessons on how the Marines can fix stuff for physical education in the NFL, opioid prevention, an entire series for the science fair. So if you want to create science fairs, you have materials for all the different stakeholders, plus ideas for how to build stuff, the methods you would use, and pro tips for presentation, activities for the family, plus activities for the family, plus activities for the classroom. All that stuff together with stakeholder guides. One of my favorites here is Siemens SEMDay. Siemens is a very large German manufacturer. No virtual field trip, but 148 lessons and activities in one single link. You can break them down by grade level. You can choose your career path, or you can just choose simply different categories of STEM. It's really simple, really easy to implement. Almost 150 activities in one link there. One more really cool one that I want to show you all is Tiger Woods. His foundation is career focused, how to get kids into college, but also into vocational training. And then they have a curriculum as well, plus a virtual field trip. Ways of starting the conversation about, but also interactives and STEM activities, and you can filter all of these. So here's some of their STEM stuff: building your resume, how to find out what you like to do, how to convince people that you're the right person for the job. All of them have like a simple intro, and then you can download the full lesson. And that's all under STEM at Educational Partners, that link. But if I go to something completely different like social studies, it's not nearly as robust, but they do have a lot of really cool stuff on personal finance, the economics behind farming, some really core foundational stuff for older students in terms of economics. When it comes to teaching students tough stuff like the shifts in the supply and demand curve. As an econ teacher, this was a real challenge that we had. In more stuff on personal finance, and then some really strong resources on the consequences of history. So Holocaust education, and then Robert F. Kennedy and social justice. And so all of these, notice no virtual field trips, but so some really great stuff that will teach students kind of the why, sometimes the core concepts, what I've heard called threshold concepts of history. Right, when students start asking why all the time and teachers don't answer it, they go into the standards. These are really great for getting into the why do people do what they do in terms of the darker periods of history. So some really, really great resources. I hope you will explore those. And remember, this is all under professional learning. And this was that Educational Partners link. Hopefully I'll see you all soon, and this helps you find better resources. Have a good one.